We're going to begin our presentation on knowing your engineering tracks. Welcome to all of the participants. My name is Perry Mons. I'll be helping with the presentation and facilitating our information. We have several engineering engineers as part of our panel. Dr. Chris Arirnaja is our department head. We have Flavio Albuquerque. Dr. Albuquerque is one of our faculty in the program. Al Brewer is our department head for skilled trades and construction and also has a master's or in engineering. So we'll move on to our first slide here. Okay, in our particular options for engineering, we have two distinct levels of training. One is technical, the other is college transfer. What we have on the first slide will be terms that you may hear and not understand. The AAS degree is Associate in Applied Science. The technical program at Associate in Applied Science is specifically set up for people who want to move into a job or career set of courses. These programs are designed to give you skilled trade occupations or skills, and this is in contrast to the transfer program, which gives you college transfer courses specifically designed to match what is required at the senior institutions. When we talk about the AAS programs, we're talking about programs such as architectural technology, civil engineering, geomatics, mechanical engineering. For the associate in engineering, there are not lots of choices there. There's one specific direction. Some students do choose to move toward associate in science as a backup plan. Let's move on to the next slide. Okay, the objectives for the technical degrees typically include moving into the job market. Some people want to have their own employment, own their own business, and some people want to move into simple certification in their program area. There are typically three pathways. Certificate is the shortest. A diploma is typically a one-year program if you're going full-time. The AAS degree, if you're going full-time, will last 2 years. The main objective of the transfer program is to move to a senior institution. A senior institution being one of the four-year schools that offers bachelor's degrees, usually master's and sometimes doctoral degrees as well. So in this particular slide, we are going to be talking about the competitive nature of getting into an engineering degree, and Dr. Arirnaja is going to talk about that.
All right. Thank you, Perry. I'm going to start off here with the transfer. Again, I'm the department head for engineering, so I'll focus more on the AE program here. I do want to point out the GPA requirements here that you see is very, very important to our program. And we're having a discussion this morning in terms of how to prepare students for that. But I will talk about that on the next slide. However, I want everybody to pay close attention to the minimum GPA ranges that we have here and the preferred GPAs also that we have as well. As we're getting ready to prepare or you're getting ready to transfer, it's very, very important to understand that Wake Tech has been unique, and it's one of the ways or reasons I always encourage students to either go through the community college first before going into the four-year institutions. One being the very first point on here is the larger classroom sizes. Our average classrooms here at Wake Tech is going to be 25, which is very, very good in the sense of faculty to student ratio. As you're getting ready to transfer, that's some of the things that we prepare you for, which also include how to do independent learning. It's going to be more demanding as you're getting ready to transfer as well. And when we say difficult courses, one of the reasons these courses become difficult is the huge faculty to student ratio, which is going to be, it also adds on to the cost component. If you don't understand a concept in class, you probably have to wait in a long line to see a faculty, right? So it all becomes very challenging. But the good news is, as you're preparing, we're able to provide you with some survival strategies. What I want to touch on here, probably spend more time on, is this, because usually when students come in, first of all, I know that there's expectation, or you do have the expectation to go to a specific university. And NC State happens to be the #1 university that most of our students want to go into. However, and I'm going to stress this here, however, you can still do engineering so far as you maintain a GPA of 2.5. You know, your GPA has to be greater than 2.5. There is a recommended, which is get a 3.0, 3.5, 3.8. Those are very, very good to get you into almost any engineering that you want. Additionally, that should not limit you, because there are institutions, okay, besides NC State, what I've listed here, ECU, A&T, East Carolina, and then A&T State, UNC Charlotte, UNC Asheville, and Western Carolina. These are all programs that have very good engineering if the engineering you want to study is being offered at those institutions. Okay, so again, I've seen students who've gotten a 3.0, a 3.2, for example, want to go in and study mechanical engineering, but because the institution they want to go into has a higher GPA, they think that is the end of their engineering career, and that's not the case. There are other institutions that will accept that. So what you're seeing here is a very quick synopsis of the required GPA, and additionally, please, the reason we're having this presentation is a couple of things. One is to clearly show what your options are, but also two, to encourage you to seek our advisors, and we'll be talking about advisors here in a second. However, at some point, maybe through advising all the faculty advisors, we are able to determine where you are. Maybe you're getting ready to finish your Wake Tech career, and your GPA, unfortunately, might be too low to even do engineering. Okay, again, that's not the end of the world. Wake Tech provides you with a lot of options. If you're still interested in transferring, then what we usually do is to look at your weak STEM areas, right? When I say your strong STEM areas, I spoke wrong, your strong STEM areas. And those could be the math, physics, chemistry, biology, just to list a few here. Because you can actually work on those areas to transfer to any of these institutions with a much lower GPA than is required for engineering. So that could also be your option as well. It's very important. We'll also be talking about the math, because unfortunately, if your math is not strong, that affects your physics and sometimes some of your chemistry as well, right? So we have to be very, very, again, you know, when we talk about engineering, we lay emphasis on the math because of the chain effect it has on most of our courses. Last but not the least, if you've decided that you're not really interested in a transfer option, you just want a skill, this is another opportunity that we have as well. And I'm gonna have Perry just explain just the last component here. So for us, if you're interested in the skills, the two options that you have. You could transfer, and there's also the non-transferable, which is, you know, the diploma or the certificate that Perry's already touched on. So yeah, Perry, anything you want to add on to this here before we move to the next slide?
Well, if we have brand new students who are not familiar with the college background and requirements, I do want to mention what grade point average means. A 4.0 grade point average means a person has gotten straight A's. A 3.0 grade point average means they have a B grade on most of their courses. A 2.0 means they have C's. So when we refer to a 2.5, this particular student would have earned half B's and half C's for their coursework. So when we're talking about competitive admission being 3.0 or higher, it means we're assuming students are working to get B's or better on their coursework. Now, to follow up on what Chris was saying, the AAS degree, even though the original design was made so that people could enter the job market, over the last several years, we have formed agreements with senior colleges so that by substituting some Englishes, some maths, some humanities, fine arts, social sciences, and allowing students to take the college transfer level, that senior colleges will be more likely to accept students who originally began with our AAS degree and not have to start all over again.
Good. Thanks.
Okay, this particular slide is stressing the difference in learning style and what people want. The word engineering means different things to different people. People coming into the technical area typically like the hands-on application of our programs. When we're talking about course labs, we're not talking simply about memorizing information. We're talking about doing lab work to reinforce what has been learned in class. When we're talking about work-based learning, we are talking about electives that allow students to use the skills that they've learned and have work experience and get course credit. Typically, students in the work-based learning have to keep a journal and have to meet specific objectives that the employer and the student have agreed upon. Apprenticeships are programs that are set up with various companies so that work experience reinforces what is being learned in the program. Apprenticeships typically last throughout the program and are not just 1 or 2 semesters long. When we're talking about transfer, we're talking about advanced coursework. And you hear us talking about math. So in this case, we're talking about calculus 1, 2, and 3 and other transfer level courses.
Okay.
Okay, the advising for our different programs begins at the same point, which is with an academic advisor in student services. A technical level student will begin with the academic advisor, but will be assigned a faculty advisor in their program of study. For a transfer level student, they use the STEM Center, and they will often email questions to advisors in the STEM Center and get detailed information that way. A technical student will talk with their faculty advisor to get guidance about what courses to take, when to take them, the prerequisite courses, etc. If you're in the technical program and you want to transfer, then it will be important for you to talk with your faculty advisor about what higher level courses to take that are acceptable by the senior institutions. For the transfer courses, all the courses, the required courses and the electives, are all planned to be part of a transfer set of courses acceptable by the senior institutions. One of the key differences between the technical and the transfer programs is the course availability. Typically, technical programs have a set sequence. usually beginning in the fall. The fall courses typically are prerequisites for courses that come in the spring. If a student takes courses out of sequence, they could actually extend their completion time in a program for as much as a year and sometimes longer. The technical programs minimize the general education courses, so they're typically only 4 or 5 courses falling in the English, math, humanities, and social science areas. And the emphasis, again, is on the core skill level courses. Transfer courses, on the other hand, tend to be offered almost every semester, fall, spring, and many courses are also offered in the summer. So if a person is out of sequence for some reason, you have a chance of taking the course again the following semester or term. The majority of the courses that are taken will be general ed courses. So Englishes, maths, humanities, fine arts, social sciences, etc. And there are certain specific electives in the engineering AE program that are approved as part of the engineering curriculum. Okay. In this particular slide, we have an interesting display showing the differences between the technical and the transfer programs, and the math in the center I view as a bridge between the two programs. So our Math 171 is pre-calculus algebra, and the Math 172 is pre-calculus trig. And Chris, do you want to talk more about the programs?
Yes. So thanks, Perry. So a couple of things. One is Perry touched on the advising, and I do want to stress that again. We showed how students can reach us when they need advice, and we do have that stem@waketech.edu, which is the email address that we use for our advising. So just kind of wanted to point that out again. So far as this slide here, if you look at this very carefully, our curriculum, and we'll show that again somewhere before we finish this presentation, we hope and we expect students to come in ready to take Calculus 1. And I say this very carefully because I don't want anyone that doesn't have or is not ready to take Calculus 1 to think, okay, that means I cannot do engineering. Again, this is why you definitely want to be talking to your advisors, because they will always create a plan for you if you don't have the Math 171 and 172. There is a financial aid component to this here, but I don't want to get into that because I'm not financial aid. But again, the expectation is you're coming in and you're ready to take Calculus 1 is where our program starts. If you don't have this here, we will have to redesign your curriculum, which means during the summer, you probably have to take a couple of classes to make up for that, but that's okay. So that's kind of the emphasis that I kind of wanted to point out here.
Okay, we mentioned earlier that we have specific agreements with senior institutions. Under the technical area, we do have those agreements, but it does not apply to every program that we offer, and it does not apply to every single senior institution. We have specifically coordinated the programs that we offer with matching programs at senior institutions. And on our division webpage, we may have time to show you later how to find these articulation agreements and the information where the colleges are and so forth. The bottom line, of course, in both situations, technical and transfer, is that you should be aiming for a minimum grade of C in all of your courses. C is what is required for transfer. For the articulation agreements with the senior institutions, the transfer courses meet the requirements for the UNC system and they meet requirements for the independent universities such as Campbell, which is a private school, and we have those documents signed and agreed upon. In most cases, if you're a transfer student, you need to be working with a transfer advisor at the senior institution to make sure that you are doing exactly what they require before you actually apply for admission to the senior institution. Okay, one of our points on this next slide is showing that when a student takes courses in the different divisions, the Applied Engineering AET division, Information Technology or Transportation Technologies division, you have specific set of skills and are able to move into the job market career direction. However, if you're in a transfer program and if you take part of your courses, not all of them, even if you make A's in your calculus 1, 2, 3, chemistry, physics, and biology, that is not enough background for you to command a job out in the field by itself. You must have additional skills beyond the advanced knowledge that you see in your math and your sciences. Okay, on this particular slide, we may be able to show some of the options that you have. We have links for Applied Engineering and Technologies, Information Technologies Division, and Transportation Technologies. So that's an option for a 2-year degree, but that is just a distinct difference between those programs and the transfer. Transfer is all about focusing on a branch of engineering. And you see we have a number of directions listed: biomedical, chemical, and so forth. If a student were to come in with the idea of moving into the biomedical engineering direction and have special difficulty with math or science, we in our division, Applied Engineering and Technologies, have biotechnology as an option. If we are going into the or wanting to go into the computer engineering direction, and if a student has difficulty, they can consider moving into the information technologies direction, because we offer courses in security, networking, programming, etc. So that direction is still available to students. If we jump down to mechanical engineering, we have a 2-year degree in mechanical engineering as well. So there are many options for students if they cannot move toward a senior institution or a Bachelor of Science degree in engineering.
Thanks, Perry. Also, I do want to add very quickly that we get this question very often so far as the AE program goes. The courses that you're going to be taking your first 2 years before you transfer are very, very generic. Where we kind of gauge you into any of these areas is actually during your electives, right? So some students have come in, want to do mechanical engineering, but then by the time they're ready to transfer, maybe they find interest in civil engineering. And it's okay, because again, the classes you take are all the required courses that is required of almost all the engineering disciplines, right? So just kind of wanted to add that to it. Now, so we're getting very close to the end of our presentation here. I want to focus on the AE sites and how to get information. The AE now is part of the AET division now as well. So just as you will look for information for the AAS program or the AET program, you're probably going to go through the same path For AE specifically, when you go to that site, you're going to be looking for the Associate of Engineering, which will be the first one on there. Once you click on that, this is going to look like this, and then it will lead you into the degree programs. In the degree programs, you get to the next form here. This is also very, very similar to the steps that you take here will be very similar to what you would do for the other programs also in the AET as well. Okay. Here I changed this kind of a last minute thing to C course sequence. As I mentioned, this is the same process you will use to get information for the AAS, except for the AE. What you're going to see here is very specific. It shows you the guideline or the outline for the courses you will be taking, right? So this is the form that you want to look at. But again, this is a form that you will get advice in to help you navigate. Yeah. Especially if you're coming in without the calculus 1, right? This here will change. This is not set in stone. This is a recommended guideline for what your courses will look like for the first 2 years. Now, if you come in and we have to make some adjustments, that could be done. One of our courses we teach here, EGR 150, actually makes that provision for students to go through their plan or to create their plan, and you get credit for it, right? So it's kind of a win-win situation, but your advisors will kind of walk you through that. Okay. Well,
Okay, this is giving you general contact information for those of us who are making the presentation today. We can leave this up for a few minutes if you need to copy down the information.